There we go.
It was a dark and stormy night, and the frustrated writer sat at his desk and struggled to find the right words to finish his great American novel. 3 dead crows crashed abruptly through the window. Slivers of broken glass flew all around, cutting them, causing the dead crows to be even more dead and now bloody. The bloody crows flopped limp to the ground, covered in flocks of sparkling glass. Broken glass from an orb that shattered like broken dreams of plot ninjas and covered the bodies of crows as they ate away at the bodies. Tears formed in the crows' eyes, for as they ate the flesh of the awareness dawned. As they ate the flesh, self-awareness dawned within them, and their hearts were broken. Cannibalism is frowned upon in most circles. Even the most barbaric of peoples would lament such actions. Unless, of course, the cannibals were sharks, and you see in the deep blue sea, in which case cannibalism, like Thundercats, are go. It was always possible, too, that she should forgo cannibalism in favor of the Atkins diet, but it just didn't taste the same. It was like comparing the taste of regular ice cream to sugar-free, which always tasted like a mixture of aspartame, air, and human hope. The hope, however, was short-lived. It was only a moment before the sharks attacked. The sharks were all around them, snipping at tails and back feet. The 3 dragons watched for a minute, amused by their bravery, then quickly dispatched them. There never had been any hope for the sharks. Now there was nowhere left to go but through the tunnel, which was really unfortunate, as often they had a white light waiting at the end. Considering the options, white was far better than red. So I took the white pill and immediately felt odd. Glancing at my hand, I discovered that it was purple. In fact, my whole body was purple. I ran to the mirror. It had to be a trace of the light, but my legs shook like jelly and I collapsed to the floor. But was that a hedgehog over there? A purple glowing hedgehog? And he was grinning. No. As I grew closer, I realized I was wrong. It was the wombat. It was the wombat. The killer wombat. The killer wombat from Wombat Farms.
Not me.
I did not know how the wombat had escaped from the farm, but I know it did not bode well. No, it did not bode well for me, for the community, or for the world at large. Because honestly, how could defeating a mile-high block of man-eating tofu not be good for the world at large? The mind boggled that anyone would think otherwise. Because the truth of it was so apparent. I shook my fist at the stars that seemed to disagree, that thought made me feel insignificant and in danger of a wrath larger than any one person could understand. I forgot why I was there and decided it was time to leave it alone. Trying to deal with my ADD was going to be harder than I had expected. But what choice did I have? When your court ordered you to get therapy, you get therapy. Then you do what your therapist said. If that does not work, talk to a bartender or other sympathetic ear, which is one that has nothing to lose by listening. Hopefully you also don't have anything to lose by telling. On the other hand, if it gets back to you, you know who, there could be hell to pay. But if it doesn't get back to you know who, then I will die. Death or hell. I can't decide. So I decided to go to this you know who and tell him a thing or two about donuts. See, this is not a donut. It does not have a hole. How could you give me a donut without a hole? So I gave him a nickel for the mutant deformed donut that had a hole in it. I told him this is how a donut should look, and then left the shop. Outside the shop, I took one bite of the donut, looked left, then right, and went left. The donut was stale, and the path was probably the wrong choice, but I was used to that. Whichever path I chose, it was the wrong one. At least this one was interesting. It became even more interesting when the wizard accused me of taking his hat. I really hadn't intended to steal this wizard's hat, but it had just been left there, all alone, simply begging for me to put it on. I couldn't help myself. I had always fancied myself as a wizard. Really, it's like my cheekbones are made to be paired with a wondrously pointy black hat. But no, I had to be born as a boring human, and now the wizard had caught me. I had chosen the wrong path indeed. The wizard stood tall and questioningly. "Why are you wearing my hat?" his voice loomed and echoed through the small, enclosed space. My mouth attempted to form words, but all that seemed to fall out was just a simple string of nothings. Well, you see, my teeth chattered and my knees shook. It was bad enough being reprimanded by my parents, let alone an all-powerful wizard. Images of me as a newt or some sort of early deformed creature. I asked you a question, boy. I hated my life in this moment. I regretted it. I regretted its strong similarities to Fantasia. There was no way I was going to end up like Mickey. So I put on my game face and started lying like a pro. "Boy? Who are you calling a boy?" I raged in my most authoritative voice. "I may look young, but I assure you I am not a boy. My age and power far exceed your measly existence. In my eyes, you are not even fit to call yourself wizard, you lowly cur. But because I am merciful, I shall spare your life this time." I flung my head up and walked away as arrogantly as I could. Holding my shaking hands by balling them to fists, I think he had believed it. But of course, he was always a bit of a fool. He had never quite been able to learn to ever mess with ninjas, pirates, computer hackers, or the lords. The last is especially problematic. He could so defy gravity if he so wished. Gravity may be the law, but the law is to be only followed by fools. And we all know what happens to fools. They don't live very long due to law-itis. The end.